Joseph Vittori, the U.S. Marine, and the Battle of Punch Bowl. Have you ever come across a story where one Marine single-handedly held off an entire enemy assault during the Korean War? Meet Corporal Joseph Vittori, a hero whose bravery at the Battle of the Punch Bowl is legendary. Born in Beverly, Massachusetts, Joe joined the Marines, served with distinction, and found himself on Hill 749 in a pivotal moment. Despite being outnumbered, his relentless courage helped his company hold their ground. But what exactly happened that night, and how did Vittori's actions change the course of history? Let's find out. Early life and military career. After graduating from high school and working on a farm until October 4th, 1946, Joe decided to enlist in the Marine Corps on a 3-year tour, eager to serve his country and make a difference. So, he began his training and graduated in December 1946. His early service included brief stints at the Norfolk Naval Shipyard in Virginia and the Brooklyn Navy Yard in New York. By April 1947, he was assigned to the Marine Detachment aboard the USS Portsmouth, where he served until June of that year. Following his sea duty, Joe was stationed at the Philadelphia Navy Yard until May 1948, when he joined the 2nd Marine Division at Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. His service continued with the 6th Fleet in the Mediterranean from January to May 1949. Returning stateside, Joe once again served at Camp Lejeune until his discharge on October 3, 1949. Back in Beverly, Massachusetts, Joe spent a year working as a plasterer and bricklayer, but his commitment to the Marines called him back. On September 26, 1950, he enlisted in the Marine Corps Reserve for an indefinite tour of active duty. Training once again took him to Camp Lejeune until January 1951, when he was deployed to South Korea. He joined Company F, 2nd Battalion, 1st Marines, 1st Marine Division there. But how did Joe distinguish himself on the battlefields of Korea? Well, Joe quickly proved his mettle in the South and Central Korean campaign, earning a promotion to corporal on June 15, 1951. His bravery was evident when he was wounded near Yanggu on June 9, 1951, earning his first Purple Heart. Even after being assigned as a property sergeant following his recovery, Joe's dedication to his comrades led him to request a return to his old infantry platoon. His wish was granted, reuniting him with his fellow Marines on the front lines. This dedication would soon be tested in one of the war's most significant battles, and that leads us into the intense and heroic moments of the Battle of the Punch Bowl. The Battle of the Punch Bowl. This battle was a critical engagement in the Korean War, fought between August 31st and September 21st, 1951. It was part of the larger United Nations command offensive aimed at securing strategic terrain and applying pressure on the Chinese and North Korean forces. The battle took place in the Hainan region of Korea, a basin-shaped valley surrounded by steep ridges and hills, which the Marines nicknamed the Punch Bowl. But why was this terrain so important? The Punch Bowl was strategically significant due to its elevation and the commanding views it offered over surrounding areas. Controlling this terrain was crucial for the UN forces to establish better defensive positions and disrupt enemy movements. The objective was to capture key ridges and hills, including Yoke Ridge, Kamnubong Ridge, and Hill 749, which were heavily fortified by the Korean People's Army. So, how did the UN forces plan to capture the Punch Bowl? The offensive began with a daring assault. By May 1951, the Chinese People's Volunteer Army's spring offensive had been halted, and UN forces had pushed them back to the Kansas line along the southern edge of the Punch Bowl. In August, with armistice negotiations breaking down, General James Van Fleet of the U.S. 8th Army decided to launch a limited offensive. The aim was to shorten and straighten the defensive lines, acquire better terrain, and force the enemy back to the negotiating table. On August 31, 1951, the 7th Marine Regiment, along with battalions from the 1st Korean Marine Corps, launched an assault on Yoke Ridge. Despite heavy rain and minefields, the Marines reached their objective and engaged the entrenched KPA defenders. By the end of the first day, the UN forces had secured the southeastern end of Yoke Bridge, suffering minimal casualties compared to the enemy. Specifically, the UN forces had 3 killed and 57 wounded, mostly due to landmines, while the KPA suffered 129 killed and an estimated 218 more killed, 233 estimated wounded, and 14 captured. From September 4th to 10th, the Marines consolidated their positions on Yoke Ridge, preparing for the next phase of the operation. They built up ammunitions and supplies while engaging in active patrolling and skirmishes with the KPA, who were reinforcing their positions, particularly on Hill 673. Both sides were actively patrolling during this interim period, resulting in significant casualties. The UN forces suffered 30 killed, 186 wounded, and 2 missing, while the KPA had 68 captured and an estimated 276 killed. The next phase saw intensified combat. On September 11th, the 7th Marines launched an attack from the Haze Line towards Kam Nubong Ridge. The assault faced fierce resistance from well-fortified KPA bunkers, resulting in slow progress and heavy casualties. However, after intense fighting, the Marines managed to secure key positions, including Hill 673. So, how did Corporal Joseph Vittori distinguish himself during this period? On September 16, 1951, Corporal Joseph Vittori's company was engaged in a fierce assault on Hill 749, where the Korean People's Army had fortified their positions. At midnight on September 16th, under the cover of intense mortar and artillery fire, the KPA 91st Regiment of the 45th Division launched a major counterattack against Hill 749. The attacks persisted until 4 a.m. but were continuously repelled, resulting in an estimated 1,200 KPA soldiers killed. During a brutal enemy counterattack, a forward platoon suffered heavy casualties and was driven back. In a bold and selfless move, Joe and 2 other volunteers from his reserve platoon charged into the fight. Their courageous hand-to-hand combat provided a crucial time for the Marine Company to regroup and strengthen their positions. But Joe's bravery didn't stop there. When a desperate call went out for an automatic rifleman to defend an isolated heavy machine gun position on the company's flank, Joe stepped up once again. With heavy casualties creating a dangerous 100-yard gap in the Marine lines, he took it upon himself to hold the line. For 3 grueling hours, Joe fought a one-man battle, unleashing a relentless barrage of over 1,000 rounds, leaping from side to side to keep the enemy at bay. Amid this chaos, Joe made repeated dashes through heavy shell fire to replenish his ammunition, even taking over a machine gun after his gunner was taken out. Despite the enemy getting dangerously close, he maintained his position, preventing a breakthrough until a single gunshot tragically killed him in the face. The following morning, the Marines found nearly 200 enemy soldiers dead in the area Joe had valiantly defended. Mortally wounded by enemy machine gun and rifle bullets while continuing his brave defense of the sector, Corporal Vittori's steadfast courage and personal valor ensured the position held despite overwhelming odds. His actions prevented the entire battalion's position from collapsing. His extraordinary heroism throughout the fierce night-long battle brought great credit to himself and the United States Naval Service. He sacrificed his life gallantly for his country. So, what happened to Corporal Joseph Vittori after his heroic actions? The aftermath. He was initially buried at the United Nations Military Cemetery in Busan, South Korea. In January 1952, his body was brought back to the United States for reburial in St. Mary's Cemetery in Beverly, Massachusetts. And on September 7, 1952, his parents were presented with the Medal of Honor, a testament to his extraordinary heroism and sacrifice. In addition to the Medal of Honor and a Purple Heart with a gold star signifying a second award, his medals and decorations included the World War II Victory Medal, the Navy Occupation Service Medal with Europe Clasp, the Korean Service Medal with 1 Bronze Star, and the United Nations Service Medal. Back to the battle. The UN offensive in the Punch Bowl area concluded on September 21, 1951. Although the UN forces did not press on to capture all their objectives, including Hills 980 and 1052, the battle significantly weakened the KPA's ability to hold their positions. The line of hills captured during the battle formed part of the new front line, named the Minnesota Line, which played a crucial role in subsequent operations. And there you have it. So, what do you think drives individuals like Vittori to such acts of heroism? Would you have the courage to make such a stand if it were you? Would you be willing to make such a sacrifice for your country? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more videos like this one.